Hi, my name is Adriana, and this is a reading vlog on 4 books on the Trojan War. Originally, this was just supposed to be like a Greek mythology themed reading vlog, but as I was going through, I realized that all of the books either were 100% or tangentially related to the Trojan War. So we're renaming the theme. Hi, Bobby. Trip's very excited about it. So I go pretty in depth into each of these books, so I won't do too much to introduce them here in this intro clip, but I will just do a quick rundown of the ones I read. Pandora's Jar, Elektra, Daughters of Sparta, and are you gonna stay if I leave? Please don't leave me. And Ithaca by Claire North. I guess I don't really have too much to say for introducing this vlog besides these books. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so I'm already like 40% into Pandora's Jar. So definitely not doing this vlog well right off the start, but here to check in on my 40%. I am enjoying it quite a bit. I have read 1,000 Ships by Natalie Haynes, but this one being nonfiction, you get a lot more of like Natalie Haynes' voice as an author, which is really fun. And I believe Pandora's Jar came out before 1,000 Ships? Let me check. It did not come out before 1,000 Ships, but I think it's a really good kind of companion to 1,000 Ships. I guess maybe not companion, but at least like the section on Helen, because we don't really get a whole lot from Helen's perspective in 1,000 Ships, so it is kind of nice to see that there. What is Pandora's Jar? Did I explain it before? I don't know. This is the first clip I'm filming, so I'm a little flabbergasted. Flabbergasted. Flummoxed. Another F word. I don't know. Anyway, I'm enjoying it so far. We get a lot of kind of fun, quirky, snarky inserts from the author, and I think just having these kind of short, digestible sections on different women in Greek mythology is a really easy way to get started into it. I mean, my first foray into Greek mythology was via, you can kind of see the yellow peeking out here, but the Dolores illustrated Greek myths, and that's kind of set up the same way where it's like semi-distinct sections of myths, and I think that's a little bit less intimidating than jumping into a full novel, especially if you're new to Greek mythology. And I think the author does a really good job of providing that historical context, and she is a trained classicist. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. I think, what have we seen so far? Helen of Troy, Medusa, the Amazons, Jocasta, Pandora, obviously. So really being able to delve into the context of the times that these women were spoken about in and written about in, I think kind of helps me enjoy these stories a lot better than I used to. So that's my thoughts so far. I will check in again when I finish it. I'm not gonna be able to get a whole lot of reading done today because I am going to trivia. So I need to eat and maybe get some reading in right before trivia, but we'll see. So while I was waiting for my haircut, I actually got the rest of the Clytemnestra story read from Pandora's Jar. So I'm really looking forward to that for when I pick up Elektra, because Clytemnestra is going to be heavily focused in that one. So I guess that pushes me over 50% in Pandora's Jar. Very much enjoying it so far, and looking forward to finishing this one out. Hopefully this weekend, by tomorrow. We'll see. We'll see. We're going to a barbecue tonight, and then tomorrow we don't really have any plans. So I should hopefully be able to get it finished out by tomorrow. My e-reader is saying I have about 2 hours left.
Good morning. It is now Monday, and I managed to finish Pandora's Jar this morning. I was hoping to finish it last night, but the dirt bike ride took it way out of me, and I was in bed sleeping at 8:30. But that meant I was up at 6 a.m. this morning ready to rock and roll. So I finished it this morning. I really enjoyed it. It is kind of a conversational nonfiction focusing on different women in Greek mythology and kind of their historical context in ancient Greek or Roman society and kind of what their stories meant to the audiences of when they were originally written, viewing them through a modern feminist lens and kind of what their stories could mean in a modern context. And I really liked it. There's just lots of really great things about it. And I kind of wish I had read this like years ago. I mean, it only came out in like hardback in 2020, and this version I had, I think, is an arc of the paperback that came out like last month. So yay for finishing another NetGalley arc. Slowly but surely chipping away at that feedback ratio. But I think, especially for the rest of this vlog going forward, I think it's going to provide me a really good background to appreciate these stories a lot more. And especially for this one, Elektra, I think the section on Clytemnestra is going to be huge in understanding what is going on. This book, which I will be starting on the drive back from our little mini vacation, focuses on Clytemnestra, Elektra, and Cassandra. I don't quite know what exactly to expect, but I did watch an interview of the author for this book on like a press thing for this book, and she said she originally started out just wanting to not really redeem Clytemnestra, but just to dig deeper into the character of Clytemnestra, and found along the way that daughter's story, Elektra, is something that really intrigued her as well. I think it'll be interesting to see what the author does with Elektra's story. The cycle of revenge, the cycle of violence, that's a super common theme in Greek mythology, as I learned from this Pandora's Jar book. So I think it will be really cool. Also, getting back to Pandora's Jar, I gave it a 5 stars, but I really enjoyed it. And I think if you enjoy like Greek mythology, feminist retellings, kind of like the new ones that are coming out today, I think it's a really good resource to be able to understand these women's stories on a little bit of a deeper level. I mean, obviously I knew like ancient Greece, probably not the best place for like women and their stories, but all of the casts of these plays, because all these were like plays where they weren't like distributing novels, they were all ingested as stage productions, and all of the entire cast for all of these stories were all men, and then the audiences were all men. So I guess that does kind of make a little bit of sense as to why women were portrayed they were. Like, they weren't really trying to appeal to a female audience at all. Women weren't playing these roles. Women weren't writing these stage productions. So I think that was rather interesting, for me at least. So I think that is all I have to say about that. I'm going to get started on Elektra on this drive home, and I will check back in with you at probably the 50% mark. Okay, so earlier when I said I would check in at the 50% mark, that was a lie. I am on the 50-page mark. I'm 50 pages in, and I have thoughts and feelings already. So right off the bat, Jennifer Saint is hugely playing with the dramatic irony of assuming most people who are reading this book already know the story, already know the outcome, already know what's going on, and she's just really delving into the motivations and the feelings and the relationships of all of these people involved. So we start in Sparta right around the time of when all of Helen's suitors are there, and Odysseus comes up with the idea that whoever Helen picks, everybody there will defend that man should someone try to get Helen, try to take Helen away. So that's where we're at, and she ends up picking Menelaus because that's how the story goes. And her sister Clytemnestra, who is one of the focuses of this book, asks her, "Why did you pick Menelaus?" And Helen says, she describes Menelaus as a man that doesn't look like he would take any affront without protest. So kind of what she's inferring is that her own adopted father kind of rolled over when her mother was chosen, aka raped by Zeus, and Helen thought that Menelaus seems like a man who wouldn't take that line down. And just knowing kind of how the whole Trojan War story plays out and how much of an affront Menelaus takes the kidnapping of Helen and how he lets it drag on for 10 freaking years. Just such a small little part, and it's like a small little line, I think opens up such a cool new interpretation of the Trojan War as a whole. That Helen herself, I mean, probably shouldn't put too much on Helen herself because she was, you know, a woman without much agency in ancient Greece, but that she purposefully picked someone out who she thought would defend her and defend her honor and would be offended by anybody trying to take her. So I liked that. I think that's interesting. Also, I like some of the kind of backstory we're getting on Agamemnon and his whole family history of being a descendant of Tantalus, and how their whole family's kind of cursed now in this big circle of violence. How he, being raised as an exiled orphan of a king, he spent his entire childhood plotting revenge and trying to get his kingdom back, which again kind of explains some of his actions later on in the Iliad and after the Trojan War, tracking down the last of Priam's son to kill him because he didn't want him growing up like Agamemnon did and coming to take revenge, because that's kind of his entire world, it seems, is just revenge and killing family and getting revenge within your family for killing family. And like, so again, another great theme. I think another great, just a couple lines and a couple tidbits in here that I think go a really long way into really fleshing these characters out in a way that I haven't seen done before. Alright, so I have reached the halfway point of Elektra and just a few more thoughts. It is starting to stall for me a little bit. And I think that mostly has to do with the fact that like I'm so familiar with like what this story is and where it's going. Like, I really just want to skip to the end and see how all the characters act in that situation. And I'm kind of surprised that like I thought my favorite character was going to be Elektra, and I'm finding her not my favorite. She comes off very like pick me, I'm not like other girls, which is not my favorite. But yeah, I mean, I guess it makes a lot of sense. I don't know. I think that I'm still really enjoying it, don't get me wrong, but we are starting to slow a little bit down in the middle. I'm hoping it'll pick up towards the end as we kind of get into some more action stuff and everything else going on. I'm actually enjoying the character of Cassandra a lot more than I thought I would, based on kind of her first couple of POV chapters. Some unexpected twists for myself and what I thought I was going to enjoy about this book, but I am excited to keep going and see if it has any more surprises in store for me. Alright, I got about 20 pages left. It is picking up in the second half for me, so that is good. I'm really enjoying the parallels that the author, Jennifer Saint, is drawing here toward the end. I obviously don't want to really like spoil anything too hard. I mean, as far as the character development and things like that, I am really, really enjoying this last part of the book. I'm gonna jump back into it and let's finish her up. I was actually a lot more emotionally affected than I thought I would be. Like, I know the ending and it still got to me. Like, I still found the character of Elektra to be wholly unlikable, but when I think back to the book I just read, Pandora's Jar, I really tried my best to view her through that historic lens, and I could see why she would potentially be the way she is. And I think especially when we get to the fact that Elektra and her mother Clytemnestra are very, very similar people. Just even through my own personal experience, mothers and daughters who are very similar tend to not get along very well. But overall, I think I would definitely recommend this book. I didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoyed Ariadne, but I think that has more to do just with my personal preference of not the Trojan War. But I think Jennifer Saint does an incredible job of really exploring the characters of these three women, really delving into their mindset, how they would react in situations like these. Of course, Jennifer Saint is also a classicist like Natalie Haynes, so she has that really strong historical basis to work off of, historical and literary basis to work off of. I would give it like a solid
4 out of 5. Like, I enjoyed it. I think Jennifer Saint did a really, really incredible job. But personally, I just don't love the Trojan War. And I really didn't like one of the main characters. One of the 3 characters we follow in this story. Yes, I enjoyed this, but I am excited to take a little bit of a break from Greek mythology. And I'm going to jump into something totally different and come back to this vlog in a couple weeks. I will check back into this vlog in a couple weeks my time, the next, 5 seconds your time due to the magic of video editing. Oh hey, so like I said, it's been a minute, couple weeks, but I am ready to jump back into some Greek mythology, and the next book I'm going to be reading is Daughters of Sparta by Claire Haywood. I am very excited for this. I discovered this from Noelle 7 Pages. She said this book made her cry. So if I don't love it, I am personally suing. I am excited for this, but I guess Elektra, I'm imagining, is fairly similar to this. Let me explain this. This is another Trojan War retelling, fitting in the theme of Trojan War, and it is from the perspective of Clytemnestra and Helen, beginning from when they were like growing up in Sparta together as children, as sisters, and going through the Trojan War, I think, all the way? I don't quite know. I don't quite know what the time expanse is, but I know for sure it starts with them as children growing up in Sparta. So I guess that's a little bit different in Elektra. Elektra starts right before Helen gets married. So we don't get to see much of them growing up vibing together in Sparta, which I think this is going to have more of that, which I'm kind of excited about. I'm really excited to see, I guess, delve into their sister relationship. In Elektra, I really got to dive into Clytemnestra as a mother, as a wife, and kind of see those relationships. So this one I'm very excited to see how she is as a sister, because I got a little bit of that in Elektra and I really enjoyed it, so I'm hoping it's kind of a similar setup here. So with that being said, I will check in when I have something to say. Okay, I don't have a reading update yet, but I do have kind of a fun life thing. So I forgot that I had bought tickets to Hadestown for me and my boyfriend for tonight. So I figured, since that is somewhat Greek mythology adjacent, it would be a perfect addition to this vlog. So I'm currently just getting ready for that, but while I am doing so, I will give you, I guess, as much of an update as I have on Daughters of Sparta. I'm only about 30 pages in so far, 35? 45 maybe? I don't know. I'm only part of the way in. And so far there's like a little bit of a difference to some other ones I've seen. Typically, like Trojan War stories I've read, Clytemnestra and Helen are twins, like they're the same age. In this one, Clytemnestra is like 2 years older. I did like how the author wove in Theseus stealing Helen as a child. That is a thing that is written about, but you don't often see in these Helen of Troy, Helen of Sparta retellings. So yeah, that's about as much of a thing as I have on that. So I'm just gonna finish getting ready. But yeah, this is the fit for tonight. Got a little black dress, got some heels. I haven't worn heels in a long time. Makeup's looking a little unblended, but it'll fade as we drive an hour and a half. But we gotta get going because we are running behind. Okay, so got back from Spokane like an hour ago. The play was incredible. The messaging, a little weird, just a little off, but the music was great, the production was cool, the stage setup was really cool, the costumes were awesome, the cast was so talented. So I would definitely suggest, if you have a chance to go watch Hadestown, that you do it. I enjoyed it thoroughly. My boyfriend didn't super love it, but he's not a big musical guy either, so he sat through the whole thing, but I really loved it. I am another 100 or so pages into Daughters of Sparta, also really enjoying this. The writing is incredible. This is definitely more of a historical fiction than I would say like a
typical like Greek mythology fantasy story. The author is kind of explaining out all of the whole gods part of the story, at least so far. I'm a little interested to see what she does when it comes to like Paris and the eventual capture of Helen. But so far I'm really, really loving it. I love the relationship between Clytemnestra and Helen. I think the author is doing a really incredible job of delving into the both of them as characters. And, you know, some of the things are starting to click in my mind as to how their characterizations now will click into some of their decision making later. Already kind of knowing the story of what this will eventually be. I am loving it so far. It is so, so good. I love the writing style of Claire Haywood. I checked her website and she does have another book coming out in February of 2023 that is kind of Medusa / Perseus focused. So I definitely, at this point, will be picking it up. I'm really, really loving this book so far. Okay, I have reached the halfway point of Daughters of Sparta. I don't really have too much more to report on. I'm still really loving the writing style. We are, I think, just about to jump into the kidnapping of Helen. So I am really excited for that. Kind of, the table is set for some action, for some plot, for some cool things to go down. I'm ready for them to go down, to see what happens. I guess the only other thing I have so far, it's kind of silly, but I have counted 2 phrases that are too close to "she released the breath she didn't know she was holding for comfort." Let me see if I can find them. She realized she'd been holding her breath and let it out as silently as she could. That's one. And then Helen realized she had been holding her breath and carefully let it go. So, not quite exactly, but just too close for comfort. At this point, authors of today have to be messing with us. They have to know about this and they have to be messing with us. It just doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. This book is so good. It's so good. Oh my god. So good. 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. If you like Greek mythology, if you liked Circe, if you liked Song of Achilles, if you liked any of the books on my Greek mythology shelf, you need to read this. This is so good. This is definitely the best, like, Trojan War related book I have read. It's pretty damn close to being the best just Greek mythology classics book I have read ever. Like, it is right up there with Ariadne. It is so good. So good. The writing is incredible. The character development is so in-depth. Like, the way the author sets up these scenarios and really delves into these women's psyches and situations, it's just, you realize that they were doing the most logical thing they could do in that situation. And yes, maybe in hindsight it wasn't the best decision, but at the time it was. Oh my god. This book is so good. I don't even want to say too much about it because I want you to go out and get this book right now and read it. Right now. Right now. It's so good. It is almost 400 pages and I read it in 3 days. I zip-zapped through it so fast because it is so good. Ugh. Oh my gosh. I don't even know how to describe to you how good this book is. It's just so good. The emotion that this book was able to pull from me, and me already knowing like how this story was going to go beat for beat. I knew exactly what was going to happen, and I am still this excited and this amped up about this freaking book. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. This book is very good. Go read it. That's all for this section. Just go read this book. I'll be back when I start the next one. Okay, thanks, bye. I just read the first chapter of the 4th and final book for this vlog, Ithaca by Claire North. Seems okay so far. Starts very quickly. So we'll see how it goes. It's got some big shoes to fill after Daughters of Sparta because that book was just so good. I am not expecting to get a whole lot of reading done this weekend because it is my bachelorette party and my sister apparently has planned many, many things. So we'll see if I can even get to the 50% mark this weekend.
Where's the music?
Where's the concert?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, go!
Let's go, girls.
So as predicted, have not made much progress in Ithaca. So I'm not quite ready to check in on this yet because I think I'm literally only like 50 pages in. 44 pages. So have not made much progress, but I did make the bachelorette party stop at a bookstore. So I have a bit of a book haul. So When Two Feathers Fell from the Sky. It is set in 1920s Nashville at a zoo. I don't know. It looked interesting. It sounded interesting. The author is Native American, and I don't have very much Native American rep in my reading, so I thought this might be a good one to try. I also got Journey of the Bitterroot Grizzly Bear. It's about reintroducing grizzly bears into the Northwest region. So a big part of it takes place in central Idaho, which we all know I love. So I'm hoping that this will be an interesting read as well. Lessons in Chemistry, I just saw it and I've heard about it everywhere. Everyone seems to really, really enjoy this book. So I think I will enjoy it too, being a big chemistry nerd myself. And I think honestly my sister might like it too, because she's actually in food science. Once I finish it, I feel like my sister would very much enjoy it too. This was a recommendation by one of the girls on the trip with me. She said it's kind of a heavy read, but she really, really liked it. And again, Idaho, can't pass it up. Love me some Idaho. And then A History of What Comes Next. For generations, Mia's family has shaped human history to push them to the stars. The year is 1945 and it is now her turn. Her mission to lure scientist Werner von Braun away from the Nazi Party and into the American rocket program, securing the future of the space race. So it's kind of like an not alternate history, fantasy-fying history, which sounds fun. So I think I will very much enjoy this. Historical thriller, I guess that's what they're calling it. Scientific speculation. So those are the 6 books I bought. And now we're just gonna vibe for a little bit. I'm gonna try to get more into this and then hopefully be able to check in with you tomorrow-ish. Well, I'm back in the car and extremely hungover, so I think we can say the bachelorette party was a success. I am 76 pages out of 383, according to my Kobo on Ithaca. I am enjoying it so far. So far it has been the story of Penelope while Odysseus is still lost at sea. And something that's kind of like unique and fun about it is actually being like narrated by Hera, like the goddess Hera. So we kind of get some of her like little quips and stuff here and there. So it's kind of, you know, like a third person omnipotent narrator, but also like Hera. So that's pretty interesting. I am enjoying it so far. Not as much as Daughters of Sparta. I'm probably enjoying it so far about the same as like Elektra. Like I think we're at an Elektra level. Speaking of I need electrolytes. Okay, thanks, bye.
Okay, so I came back from my bachelorette trip with a bit of a souvenir. After 2.5 years of avoiding it, I have finally caught COVID. So I apologize for not really serving a look today and for my voice, which is very nasally because I am very congested, but I can't go to work or do anything. So I have made it to the 50% mark in Ithaca that I am reading. So far, I am enjoying it, but I don't think I love Hera as a narrator. She's using a lot of like modern slang. Like it feels very Hades from like the Disney version of Hercules.
He's a guy.
Which like is fine in a kids movie, but like in a book, it's just a weird bit. It's a weird bit, especially since like the rest of the book is written in a much more formal tone. And then you get Hera spitting things like, I'm here for it, and you do the wailing, I'll bring the olives. Like it's just weird. It's just weird and it takes me out of it a bit. I'm still enjoying it so far though. It's very different than a lot of the other stuff I've read for this vlog. Usually when the gods are like an active participant in the story, they're treated I guess with a little more reverence, but seeing that our narrator herself is a god, she's not really treating these other gods with reverence, and it's a weird vibe. Well, I'm getting very weird vibes from this book. The story is definitely very different than anything else I've read before, focusing on really the politics of how Penelope is surviving in this kingdom by herself without her husband, what specifically she is doing to fend them off. So that's pretty interesting. That's kind of a cool take. But yeah, overall, my thoughts on this book are very mixed. There's a lot of things I really like about it and a lot of things I really don't. So I suppose that would like kind of average out to a 3, but it's a weird 3. Hopefully, since I'm on COVID lockdown, I can finish up the rest of this book fairly soon. So this morning I had a call with a recruiter on Teams. I thought it was gonna be like a video call. So, you know, I did some makeup and like put on a shirt. And obviously, so, you know, since it's on Teams, we're rocking shorts. Turns out it was just like voice, so didn't need to do all of this. But whatever, it's fine, we're good. Mostly over COVID, so that was also good. I finished Ithaca this morning, and I like it. It's definitely providing a different side of the Trojan War story that I've seen in a lot of other things. I just don't know if it's necessarily for me. I don't think I'll be continuing on with the series. It was good. The writing style was a little strange to me. The political machinations aren't necessarily something that are as appealing to me as like, what really appeals to me about Greek mythology retellings is really delving into these characters, because I'm familiar with the stories. Like, I've been reading the stories since I was like a little kid. I know the stories. I don't need to just go through the story. I really want to delve into these characters, why they're making these choices, what they're doing, and having Hera as the narrator, while really interesting and a really cool like story device, doesn't necessarily give you that same level of being able to delve into these women's and men's psyches and decision making the same way you could with like just third person storytelling. So I think looking back on it more, I think that's part of the reason I didn't like it as much as some of the other ones I've read for this vlog specifically, and just other things in general. So I would definitely recommend this for, I think, a lot of people who are into Greek mythology, especially if you like kind of those more political, it almost kind of reads like a political thriller. Penelope is just doing her best to try to hold her kingdom together while she waits for Odysseus to come home, and has a lot of dealings, backroom dealings, which is like, it's cool to see a woman, you know, doing backroom dealings, and we get to see, you know, some of the Amazon women come in, and the gods play a much bigger part in this book than either Elektra or Daughters of Sparta. Especially Daughters of Sparta is basically straight historical fiction. Like, it's not really, the gods aren't really interwoven into that plot line at all. This one, the gods are very much a part of the plot line and are very much helping move the plot along. So if you like that, that is also either a plus or a minus in this book, depending on how you feel. What else can I say about this book? I mean, it's a solid 3 stars for me. Like, I enjoyed it. I had a good time with it, but it just wasn't necessarily my cup of tea. Speaking of tea, we're still getting over COVID, so might have to go make some. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say on Penelope specifically, or not Penelope, Ithaca. I think that's all I have to say on Ithaca specifically, and I'm probably going to kind of do up my makeup a little bit more, maybe put on a different shirt, and I will film just a little bit on kind of my experience with all 4 books as a whole, as well as an intro clip, because I never actually filmed an intro clip for this vlog. So here we are, a vlog months in the making, finally finished. I'm so happy to finally have this vlog done. Obviously there are many other Trojan War related books and stories that I could have tried to rope into this, but I feel like this vlog is already long enough. So looking at, you know, the books I read as a whole, Daughter of Sparta, definitely the best. I think just from seeing the vlog, you could tell this was my absolute favorite. Of the 4 books I read, if I were to force you to read 2 of them, it would be Daughters of Sparta and Pandora's Jar. Pandora's Jar mostly just because I think it's good if you like Greek mythology retellings to really get, you know, more knowledge on it. You know, if you like to read about something, being able to just dive into a nonfiction and really get into it, especially like if you're into historical fiction, being familiar with the history of that time, I think helps your enjoyment of that book. So same thing with Greek mythology retellings. If you're into them, probably good to be aware of the Greek mythology itself. Elektra, I still really enjoyed, but not as good as Ariadne. Ithaca, I still enjoyed, but I'm probably not going to continue on with the series. Which, kind of funny that like the books I enjoyed the most, like these 3 I definitely enjoyed the most, all written by trained classicists. So it goes to show, like, even if you don't have a degree in Greek mythology, you could probably write a Greek mythology book, but I'm gonna leave the writing of Greek mythology retellings to the trained professionals. So let me know what you think about Greek mythology retellings, if you've read any of these, if you're interested in any of these. I would love to talk about them more. And thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you on the next video.